All right, guys. Hello and welcome. I'm Professor Kadir. I don't yell. I'm so nice. Okay. All right. I have the same personality on camera and off camera. Okay. Alrighty. So, if you remember, we discussed already anatomy and physiology. Anatomy means structure. Physiology means function. Anatomy means structure. Physiology means function. Remember that triangle? That triangle is gonna go with us all semester long. No matter which lecture we're doing, we're gonna go back to our triangle. So, let us now. I'm sorry. Let's go back to our good old triangle. So the triangle is made up of a pinnacle and a base. That's the apex. That's the top, the apex, the pinnacle. And then you have multiple other levels on which your triangle is based. Who is at the base, meaning who's most foundational, who's most fundamental, and who's at the apex? Who's at the base? What is the most basic unit of life? Remember, I told you the most basic unit of living is apartment. Many apartment give you an apartment complex. Many apartment complexes give you a borough. Many boroughs give you a county. Many counties give you a state. Many states give you a country. Many countries give you a continent. Many continents give you a planet. Many planets give you a constellation. Many constellations give you a galaxy. Many galaxies give you a universe, and so on. We're going up and up and up. Yes. So, living. Now, when you say molecules and atoms, you're talking about a microwave. You're talking about a stove. That stuff is important. The heater. I cannot live in my apartment with no heater. And you're gonna need an air conditioner and hair conditioner. I just I forgot that they're so similar. Anyways, so air conditioner and hair conditioner, those are all parts of the living, but they are not the smallest living unit. They cannot exist by themselves. They are part. So you want to correct yourself? Yes, Paris. No, yes, please. You are Mia. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Pink. Brielle. I was close. I'm sorry. Brielle. The cell, yes, that is the basic unit of life. Remember when we said the coronavirus attacked the cell, then the cells that is has been damaged spread to a nearby tissue, then the whole organ, the lung, the whole COVID-19, and then we went from the whole organism is now under inflammation and is sick, and then the one person spreaded it to the next person. Then you had a whole endemic in China. Then it spread from China to Asia. Then you have a pandemic that hit all the organisms because the cell was damaged. Are we clear? So the cell, many cells, the same way many apartments give you an apartment complex. Many cells give us what? We got to do this faster and louder. Many cells give us tissues. So many cells give us tissues. And many tissues come together. Many apartment complexes give you a borough. Many tissues give you organs. Very good. Many tissues give you organs. And many organs come together to give you organ systems. Very good. They give you organ systems. And many organ systems, the cardiovascular system, the musculoskeletal system, the cardiopulmonary system, the nervous system, all of these systems come together to give you a organism. And many organisms, you and I and Trump and everybody, yeah, he's part of the population too. He's the bad part of the population, but he's there. Population population. So that is you really need to know this. That's the alphabet. That's the alphabet of anatomy and physiology. It makes no sense. You're going to learn about the systems and the organisms and reproduction and the population, and you have no idea how is the triangle structured. Then they realized that they were saying, oh, anatomy and physiology is cadaver anatomy and physiology. Is what you can see, what your eye sees. You see the liver, you see the lung, you see the spleen. Yay, that's anatomy. So I used to call that naked eye because you don't need a microscope. Naked eye, AMP, anatomy and physiology. But then we learned, what's the other name for naked eye anatomy and physiology you can see with your eye? What do we call that? Yes, very good. That is gross anatomy and physiology. Then our friends Robert Hooke and Anthony van Leeuwenhoek came together and put together for us the compound microscope and the light microscope, the compound microscope, and the light microscope. Any questions? No questions. Then we learned that when you study the tissues, studying the tissues and ology, ology meaning the knowledge of, ology means the study of, physiology, study of the function. Okay, pathology, study of disease. Ology means the science of or the knowledge of. When you study the tissues, what ology is that? Histology. Very good. Histology. And when you study all the cells, what is that called? Cytology. Very good. This is cytology. So cytology is when you study all the cellular compartments. And for that, can you use a compound light microscope? That's the compound light microscope behind you. Can you really use that? Can you use the compound light microscope to see the cell structures, the plasma membrane, the nucleus, the ribosome? Can you do that? Can you do that? No. You can need an electron microscope. You're going to need an electron microscope. An electron microscope. So the electron microscope makes cytology possible and everything below it. Then we learned that the cell is made up of, here where Paris comes. Paris, what is the cell made up of? No, before that. Who wants to help Paris? Yes. Yes. Organelles. Those are the biggest, smallest thing. Organelles. Those are your mitochondria. Those are your endoplasmic reticulum, your Golgi body, your ribosomes. Then the organelles are made up of macromolecules. Macro meaning big. You have macroeconomics. Macro molecules, and smaller than that you have micro molecules, and below that you have the atoms and the elements. The atoms and the elements. Questions? Thank you so much. Atoms and elements have an even more basic, and that's the last one. You can never break them down into something. You can break macromolecules to micromolecules. You can break down micromolecules to atoms and elements. You can break down atoms and elements to get what? Protons, neutrons, and electrons. Can you break down protons, electrons, and neutrons to anything else that is more useful? Can you do that? Can you break down electrons, protons, neutrons to something useful? Can you break down the proton to something? No. That is the smallest. It's like when you have a word. I go to school. Then you can break it down into words. Then you break down the word into letters. Can you break down the letter into something smaller? No. So those are the building blocks of the atoms. So now let's work our way up. Let's begin with the protons, neutrons, and electrons. Protons, neutrons, and electrons. Okay, inside the nucleus, the atom has a nucleus. Do not confuse the nucleus of the atom with the nucleus of the cell. It's two different nucleus. This is the nucleus of the cell. This one is the nucleus of the cell, and it has a little bubble inside it. Do you see it? We're going to talk about that little bubble and the whole big nucleus and a small circle bubble inside it. That's called the nucleolus. That's the mini nucleus. So there is a mini nucleus, nucleolus, and then there's the nucleus around it. Are we clear? Okay, that's the nucleus of who? The cell. We're not talking about the cell yet. We're talking about the nucleus of the atom. So the atom has a nucleus, and then we get the cell. Are we clear? So now let's talk about the nucleus of the atom. The nucleus of the atom has two things inside it. It has protons, and they are positively charged. And they have neutrons, and they are zero, neutrally charged. They have no charge on them. Please remember that. Protons are positively charged. Neutrons are, what charge are neutrons? That's why we call them neutrons, because they are neutral. Neutrons are neutral. Who's spinning around? Negatively charged. So the nucleus is like a planet, and the electron is like what spins around the planet. Let's say we have a planet. What spins around the planet? Like the electron who are negatively charged, they are spinning. What's spinning around the planet? Planet Earth. We're on planet Earth. What's spinning around us? Hmm? The moon. Yeah, you're right. The moon's spinning around us. So the planet is the nucleus. This nucleus. This nucleus is the planet. And the moon circulating around it is the electron. Now, when this is element number one, then there's element number two. I wish we had the periodic table in here, but it's not here. But we can look at it in the slide. If two atoms, you know atoms bond to make molecules, right? Atoms come together to give you micromolecules. Like, for example, you know we have water, H2O, OH, and H. You know you have carbon dioxide, CO2, right? And you know you have sodium chloride, NaCl, right? Atoms bond together. Well, there's something very special you need to know. Number one, chemical bonding. When it comes to chemical bonding, there are two types of chemical bonding. One of them, there is two types. The first type of chemical bonding is called ionic bonding. The second type of chemical bonding is called covalent bonding. Covalent bonding. Are we clear? I need to tell you something very important. Bonding is like marriage. You know, when people get married, they bond. They say, welcome to this holy matrimony bond, some bonding. Now, how does bonding happen in the Western Hemisphere, in Europe, in America, Canada, versus in the Eastern Hemisphere, in Africa and Asia? Is it the same? Is it the same? It's not the same. What happens in the West here is that they both share. The husband puts $50,000, the wife puts $50,000. They join, they share. They are sharing a house, sharing a bank account, sharing mortgage, sharing. In the other part of the world, in Africa and the Eastern Hemisphere, they're not sharing. The husband gives 100,000 to the wife. That's exactly what happens in ionic bonding. In ionic bonding, sodium gave an electron that was spinning around it in its bank account. It gave it to chloride. So chloride now is the wife. She received a minus charge. You know the electrons, they are the currency of the atoms. So you in your bank account, if your bank account is plus, it means you're rich. If it's minus, it means you're broke. You have no money. The elements is the other way around. If an element has a minus charge, it means it's rich because it got a minus electron. So if you have one element with one minus, one element with two minus, that's more rich. One element with three minus, that's the richest one. But if you see an element with a plus, you know it lost. If you see with two pluses, it lost two. Three pluses, it lost everything. Are we clear? So now, if you look now, they now have a bond. That's the Eastern marriage. Africa, Asia. So they bonded because one gave, lost. Here you go. Take the whole 100,000. Let's bond. Let's get married. Now let's look at the covalent bonding. That one is the Western type of bonding. In the Western type of bonding, there's sharing. So oxygen is sharing an electron, hydrogen is sharing an electron, we're bonded together. Oxygen is sharing an electron, hydrogen is sharing an electron. Here, carbon dioxide, carbon is sharing two. Oxygen is sharing two. Oxygen is sharing two. Carbon is sharing two. Sometimes some people share 100,000. I put 100,000. My wife puts 100,000. We get married. Some other people put 200 each. Some people put 300 each. So the more you share, the stronger the bond. Now, we have two arrows. Let me ask you a question. Where do people always fight and argue? Where do people always go to court and divorce and have a problem? Do they have a problem when somebody gives somebody something? Or do they have a problem when they're sharing something? When they're sharing. Because when you lose something, you voluntarily give $100,000. There's no problem. The problem is whenever you're sharing something with somebody, you're sharing a room, you're sharing a blah, 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 you share, always somebody you want to take more than they're supposed to. That's how it is. That's how life is. Whenever you're sharing something, you always want to share, especially if the person is bigger than you. So that's exactly what happens with oxygen and hydrogen. Do you know what is the molar mass of hydrogen? If you look in a periodic table, 1. Very good. Hydrogen has atomic mass unit 1. How many atomic mass units is oxygen? 16. Imagine hydrogen is in a relationship with somebody who is 16 times as big as you are. Does that make sense? So what's going to happen now? Imagine my friend and I, we go both rent, we buy a car. I'm supposed to drive it 12 hours, half a day. My friend drives it 12 hours. That's sharing. We're sharing equally. Now let's say I'm sharing somebody very big, 10 times, 16 times bigger than me, 16 times more rich than me, and I'm sharing a car with them. Do you think they're going to take the car for 12 hours and bring it back to me for 12 hours? No, they will take it for 17 hours, for 18 hours. So that's what happens. Now, even though they are sharing the electrons are spending more time with the big bully oxygen. So we call that polar covalent. When the electron polarize towards the bigger guy, when the pole is not even, is not on the middle, there is a polarization. So that's called polar. Polar means not fair, unequal. Polar bonding. Now let's compare oxygen to chloride. Oxygen to chloride. Are oxygen and chloride as big as each other? Absolutely. Can oxygen do to carbon what it does to hydrogen? Absolutely not. Because carbon is like 12 and oxygen is 16. Or carbon is 13, sorry, oxygen is 16. Oxygen is only a little bigger, only about like 3 units. That's not big enough to steal anything from me. So now there's going to be non-polar. Non-polar means it's fair. Non-polar. It means it's fair. Non-polar means it's fair. Polar means it's not fair. But do we have a polar ionic, non-polar ionic? No, we don't have that. The ion who gained the charge is called an anion. You see the negative charge looks like an I, an anion. It's like a negative charge. And the one who gave the electron now has a positive charge like a T, so we call that cation. Cation. Is that clear? Are we clear? Now we move into organic versus inorganic. Organic versus inorganic molecules. Organic versus inorganic. People now think organic it just means good. No, organic means you have to have carbon and hydrogen. You cannot have one or the other. Both. You gotta have both at the same time. You gotta have both at the same time. Carbon and hydrogen. If you look at any molecule, no matter what it is, if you see that it has both carbon and hydrogen, that absolutely means what? Hmm? It means that it's organic. If you have one or, carbon or hydrogen, carbon or hydrogen. If we have carbon or hydrogen, carbon or hydrogen, carbon or hydrogen, that means, or anything else, or anything else, like phosphate, iron, chloride, anything that is not carbon or hydrogen. So let me ask you now. Let's say you have a organic molecule. You have a organic molecule. And you attach and you add to the organic molecule, you add an inorganic molecule. You have an organic molecule, but you add to it an inorganic molecule. Does that still make you organic, or you lost the property of being organic? Hmm? Raise your hand if you think you lost it now. Raise your hand if you think you didn't lose it. So what does the law say? The law says in order to be organic, what do you need to have? So when you added an inorganic compound, did you remove carbon and hydrogen? So why do you think it lost it? You didn't lose it. You will always be organic as long as you have those two, no matter what else you added. Are we clear? Questions? Alrighty. So now we know organic and inorganic. Now we're going to talk about the 4 different micro and macromolecules. We finished talking about protons, neutrons, electrons. We finished talking about atoms and elements. And now it's time to talk about micro and macromolecules. Let's now identify the different types of micro and macromolecules. The different types of micro, and molecule. The different types of micro and macro molecules. Alrighty. So first of all, we have a very important. So we have micro molecules. Those are small. These are also known as monomers. Monomers. And they build up to give us polymers. Monomers give us polymers. Micromolecules give us macromolecules. Macromolecules. Micromolecules assembled together to give me macromolecules. Are we clear? Questions? All right. The first type of micromolecule are amino acids. So amino acids, they are the number one micromolecule, and many amino acids come together to give me proteins, and many proteins come together to give me protein peptides. Protein peptides. Amino acids come together to give me proteins. Proteins come together to give me protein peptides. So we are building up. Micromolecules are like bricks that come together to give you a big wall. Is that clear? So the amino acids are the building blocks that come together to give you the protein peptides. Are we clear? Any questions? Okay, that was number one. Number two, what do you have? Number two, you have monosaccharides. Monosaccharides. Many monosaccharide means one sugar. Then the one sugar come together to give you disaccharides. They come together to give you disaccharides. And many disaccharides come together to give you polysaccharides. Polysaccharides. And these are the carbohydrates. Carbohydrates. That is number two. Combination micro and macromolecules. Now, are we done? No, we have a number three. Who's number three for us? Number three is going to be nucleotides. Nucleotides. Nucleotides, they are number three. Nucleotides are number three, and many nucleotides come together to give us nucleic acids. Nucleotides come together to give us nucleic acids. Is that clear? And lastly, we have two building blocks combining. You have glycerol, and free fatty acids. Glycerol and free fatty acids come together to give us lipids, known as fats. This is number four combination. You got to know all those. Micromolecules or amino acids are micromolecules. Monosaccharides are micromolecules. Nucleotides are micromolecules. Glycerol and free fatty acid are micromolecules. Amino acids give us proteins. Monosaccharides give us disaccharides first, then give us carbohydrates, polysaccharides. Nucleotides come together to give us nucleic acids, and glycerol and free fatty acids come together to give us lipids. So, what do we have here? We have something very interesting. We have 4 macromolecules building up. So we have build up. We have a buildup of amino acids to become proteins, buildup of carbohydrates to become polysaccharides, buildup of nucleotides to give us nucleic acids, buildup of glycerol to give us lipids and fats. Are we clear? Any questions? Questions? We all good? All right. So we have a buildup, and we call buildup, we have our own language in anatomy and physiology. What do we call build up? What do we name that as? Build up. Build up, synthesis, we call that anabolism. 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 So we synthesize many things. Very good. But when it comes to synthesizing macromolecules who are organic for our nutrition, what do we call that? We call that anabolism. So here we have protein anabolism. We have carbohydrate anabolism. Anabolism. We have carbohydrate anabolism. We have nucleotide anabolism. We have nucleotide anabolism. We have glycerol and free fatty acids to give us lipid. That is anabolism. But now the problem is the arrow is only pointing up. Do we only build? We never break down? There's no demolition? The highway, is it one way or two ways? Is the highway one way or two ways? Two ways. The subway line, one line, or the bus line, does it only go uptown? There's no downtown? There's uptown and downtown. So we need to do the both. We don't only build up molecules, we break down in the opposite direction. So the same way we have protein build up, we have protein breakdown, we have carbohydrate breakdown, we have nucleic acid breakdown, and we have lipid breakdown into glycerol and free fatty acid. If anabolism means build up, what means breakdown? Catabolism. So we have protein catabolism, we have carbohydrate catabolism, we have nucleic acid catabolism, and we have lipids catabolism. So you need to know catabolism is when we break down. We break down. So why are we doing this? Why are we building up and breaking down? Are we playing a game? We're playing a game with cubes. You build up and you break down. So why are we building up and breaking down? Now let's go back to our organic versus inorganic. If you look at this bond, carbon and hydrogen, we have two bonds, carbon and hydrogen. Carbon and hydrogen. Let's say now I have carbon and hydrogen. I have carbon and hydrogen. If I make a bond, sharing electron, what did I do? I put energy in this bond. When people share money to make marriage, they invested money in that marriage. So now they put energy in the bond. That's called endergonic. So all build up. Whenever you are building up, you're storing. You're making energy. So when you make a bond, you have endergonic reaction. Are we clear? But when you break the bond, when the bond is broken, the energy comes out. And that's called the energy exit. That's called exergonic. 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 The energy come out. The energy comes out. That's exergonic. So sometimes I need to store energy. We store energy. Sometimes we use and we break down energy. So if you have a lot of money, you go put it in the bank. That's storing. If you need money, you go to the bank, you take out money. Same thing. If you go to Costco, you buy a lot of food, you put it in the fridge. Is it going to stay in the fridge forever? When you're hungry, you're going to break it down. So now let's assume all of us right now in class, we go to a all-you-can-eat buffet. So we eat, all of us. And after we finish eating, everybody is full. We can't even walk. Now half of us say we're going to go to sleep. And the other half say, let's go to the gym and run. Who is going to be storing the food that they made? Is it going to be the ones who went to sleep or the ones who was running? The ones who went to sleep, because sleeping doesn't need energy. But running on a treadmill, your car needs gas to burn so that it can move. Now the same thing with you. If you eat any food, all food is broken down to micromolecules and monomers. So if you had a meal with pasta, carbs, pasta is carbohydrate, carbs, chicken and steak, that's protein, and then you have nucleic acids, and you have lipids, fats. You ate everything. Your cells are never going to see pancake. Your cells are never going to see steak because it's going to get all digested with acid in the stomach and get absorbed. So in your blood, you have them in this form here: amino acids, monosaccharides, nucleotides, glycerol, and lipid. They are in the smallest form. Now it depends on you. Are you going to sleep? If you're going to sleep, all the little amino acids are going to go anabolism, build up, endergonic, saving. The monosaccharides build up, endergonic, storing. Carbohydrate, endergonic, anabolism. Nucleotide, endergonic, anabolism. But if you go running, all these macromolecules are not going to go to build up. We're going to be breaking down what we stored. So we're going to do protein catabolism, exergonic. I need the energy to exit from the bond and go to my muscles, go to my bodily systems so that I can perform my bodily function. Are we clear? Questions? Alhamdulillah. Okay, thank you. Does anybody have a question? Nobody has a question. Nobody has a question. Any questions? Okay. So there's a name for both. So we said that anabolism is endergonic. Anabolism is endergonic, and catabolism is exergonic. Exergonic. Anabolism is endergonic. Catabolism is exergonic. Clear? Any questions? Anabolism, endergonic. Catabolism, exergonic. How we combine those two, anabolism and catabolism, we combine them together to get what? Metabolism. Metabolism. Metabolism means the sum of anabolism and catabolism. Anabolism and catabolism. Okay? Questions? 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 No questions. So why we study metabolism? Because metabolism is one of the signs of life. If an organism can carry out metabolism, it means that it's alive. If it cannot carry out metabolism, it means it's dead. One of the signs of life is the ability to perform metabolism, which is both anabolism and catabolism. Any questions? So now we're finished with micromolecules and macromolecules. Any questions? Alrighty. So now we're gonna go into, so now we're moving into inching closer and closer to the cell. Okay. If you look now, we see that the cell is divided into three compartments. 1, 2, and 3. This school now has a big fence around it to define self from non-self. Who can come in, who cannot come in, nobody trespass, no bacteria, no dangerous activities. So we have, the cell has the same plasma membrane, plasma membrane. Then once you walk in the school, what do you see? You see different, you see a building for cafeteria for food, a building for recreation, the gym, a building for library to study, building for learning, there's laboratories, there is classrooms. So all the activities happen in the middle between the outside barrier, the fence, and the same thing. The plasma membrane has a cytoplasm. Cytoplasm. The cytoplasm itself is divided into A and B. The cytoplasm has A, and A is the known as the cytosol. The cytosol. The cytosol is a fluid that is colloid. It's a fluid that is colloid, meaning that it has a lot of proteins. Proteinaceous fluid is very thick, is thicker. You know, cytoplasm is like the swimming pool. Cytoplasm is like a swimming pool. It's like a swimming pool. The cytoplasm is like a swimming pool. The swimming pool has two things in it. Obviously, the water and the rubber duckies floating on it, right? The rubber duckies floating on the water in the swimming pool. The cytoplasm has the cytosol. That's the water fluid. And we said it's not just water. It's water mixed with a lot of protein. That's why we call it a colloid. Colloid. Colloid meaning that you have a lot of proteins dissolved, so it's like slime. It's really thick fluid. Are we clear? Clear. The organelles are what keeps the cell alive. The mitochondria, that's like the cafeteria where we get our ATP. It's also responsible for apoptosis. Mitochondria gives us the energy, ATP. Lysosomes, those are the police. They fight any invader. They kill bacteria. They kill microbes who are invaders. There is also a pita bread Golgi body. It looks like a pita bread Golgi body. Pita bread Golgi body. And many other organelles, they are floating on the cytoplasm. And lastly, you have the nucleus. So now the school, you left all the buildings, and then there is the building where there is the president and where there is the the provost and the vice provost and the vice president, because they are the mind of the school. They are the ones who put together things for the school. So the nucleus has all the DNA, has the RNA, DNA, RNA. These are the nucleic acids. It doesn't have the RNA. The RNA is not inside the cell. No, the RNA is in the ribosome. The ribosome is an organelle. Ribosome is an organelle. The DNA, you have transcription, factors, and inside the nucleus, what else do you have? What do we call that little bubble? Nucleolus. And the nucleolus is home to the rRNA. Nucleolus is home to the rRNA, ribosomal RNA. Nucleolus is home to the ribosomal RNA. This is the cellular structure. So we're going to learn about what's happening in the plasma membrane. Then we're going to learn about what's happening in the cytoplasm, cytosol, and the organelles. And lastly, we will end with the nucleus. What are the activities that happen inside the nucleus? Any questions? So that's our general information about the organelle and the cell. And the last thing we're going to need for today is the tissue. So now we move up to tissues. We move up to the tissues. We move up to the tissues. If you look at your tissues, the human tissues, there are 4 types of tissues. 1, 2, 3, and 4. 4 is the epithelial tissue, and you have the connective tissue, then you have the nervous tissue, and lastly you have the muscular tissue. Epithelial tissue, you're going to see in the microscope, that's where all the skin cells. So epithelial tissue is divided. There is 7 types of epithelial tissue. So how do you name epithelial tissue? Number 1, the BM. You look at the BM. The BM is the basement membrane, and you also have the basement membrane and the cell shape. So let's look more into that. So let's say we have a basement membrane. This is our basement membrane here. Well, there are two types of relationships you can have with the basement membrane. Number one, you have all the cells in the tissue touching the basement membrane. You have one level, one layer, and this is known as simple. If one tissue is only made up of one layer attached to the basement membrane, that's the basement membrane. That's the basement membrane. If all the cells are attached one level to the basement membrane, that is going to be known as a simple tissue. That's going to be known as a simple tissue. But if you have more than one level, if you have more than one level, if you have more than one level, so that's one layer. That's like a skyscraper, like a whole building. You have many on top of each other. What do we call that? Excellent. That is stratified tissue. You have stratified tissue and simple tissue. What are you doing? Why are you not writing, taking notes? We have one layer, simple, and we have multiple layers, that's called stratified. One layer, simple, and we have multiple layers, stratified. So the simple means that we only have one layer. Stratified means we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, or even more layers. Is that the only thing we look at? No, now we look at the cell shape. Some cells look like an egg sunny side up. Some cells look like that, like an egg with the nucleus sunny side up, like this. This is called squamous, not squamish. Squamous cell. Some cells are like a cube. A cube means it has a width and a length. So when the length and the width are both equal, when the length and the width are both equal, that means you have a cuboidal tissue. Cuboid tissue. And what's the third type? That's type number 1. That's type number 2. What's type number 3? Columnar. So columnar is when you have a length and a width, but the length is not equal. The length is way more than the width. The length is way more than the width, and that is called columnar. So if I have a tissue, it's either one of 7. Number 1, simple columnar. 2, simple squamous. 3, simple cuboidal. Those are 3. Or stratified squamous, that's 4. Stratified cuboidal, that's 5. Stratified columnar, that's 6. You gotta know all 6. You will see them in the microscope. And you gotta know where you find them in the body. And you gotta know what function do they do. So that's your challenge for Lab Practical 1. What is the 7th? I only talked about 6. The 7th one is called pseudo, meaning fake. Pseudo, not really. Pseudo-stratified. So it looks stratified, but it really isn't stratified. It's pseudo-stratified, kinda. So it gives you the illusion, but it really isn't. Why? Because it has some goblet cells, though that means the tissue is one layer, but because it has goblet, Goblet, goblet cell, wine glass cells. I guarantee you will see this question in the lecture exam, you will see it on the lab exam, you will see it on the NCLEX if you take in nursing, no matter which, any exam that has anatomy and physiology in it, you will have to know that the pseudo-stratified epithelium is the one that has wine glass appearance. Questions? Pseudo-stratified goblet, wine glass, and they secrete mucus. So you find this pseudo-stratified epithelium in your lung, where we secrete a lot of mucus. Questions? Any questions? Okay, that's only for epithelial though. If you go to connective tissue, one student asked me yesterday when she was looking at the blood, she said, so is the blood stratified or squamous? The blood is not epithelial tissue. Only the epithelial is simple, stratified, squamous, columnar, cuboidal. Once you move into number 2, this one, connective, is a whole different system now. They have nothing to do with stratified or simple. That's only for epithelial only. If you go to connective, the connective has many forms. You have bone tissue, that's connective tissue. Bone tissue is connective tissue. Blood is connective tissue. Adipose tissue, fat tissue, that is known as connective tissue. Adipose tissue, bone tissue, blood tissue, areolar tissue. Areolar tissue. All of these types of tissues are called connective tissue because their job is like a staple. They anchor, they connect together all the organs. Nervous tissue, that's the one is obvious. Nervous tissue, that's the one that is found in the brain, is responsible for processing sensory input and generate motor output, integrate information, control information. And muscular system, you have 3 types of muscular tissue. You have smooth muscle, and that's your blood vessel, your vein, the one that carries the blood, the arteries and vein. Those are the blood vessels. That's number 1. Blood vessels. That's number 1. Number 2 is cardiac muscle. Cardiac muscle. Where do we find the cardiac muscle? Excellent. The heart. You need a strong muscle to pump, compress the blood, to push it all the way to the toes, to the brain, very far. And the last type of muscular tissue is known as skeletal muscle. That's the one you work on in the gym. Skeletal muscle, that's the one attached to bone. Skeletal muscle is attached to bone, attached to bone. That's the muscular tissue. You will see all these 4 types of tissues. You're responsible of looking in the microscope and finding out how to tell who they are and what they do and that kind of stuff. Okay? So everybody, like I said, make a collection, make a group, an online thread, your emails, however you choose to communicate, and make sure that you guys go over all the photos. Students, they take photos of, you put your eye on the ocular lens and you take a photo of the tissue, then you name it. The name is on the slide. If you look at all these slides here, what you're going to need to know for the lab practical is, look at this slide here. This slide has a name on it. That's the number 1 question you're going to need to answer. As long as this one is adipose, human adipose tissue. So on the lab practical, you're gonna see that this is not there. It doesn't exist. It's gone. You're just gonna have the glass. I know what's in there. So when you look under the microscope, you can tell that this is adipose tissue. Then I'm going to ask you, where do we find it in the body? I'm going to ask you, what is its job? Everybody, please go to week. Can you do me a favor? Go to your canvas and go to files, please. Do you see week the fifth, week 3? Yeah, please click on exercise 6. Please click on exercise 6. Everybody click on exercise 6 in the files. Go to files, exercise 6, files. On week 3, go to slide 9. Slide 9. What do you see in slide 9? You see simple squamous. Everybody please go to the canvas. Everybody please go to the canvas and click on files. Everybody clicked on files. Then click on week 3. Week 3. Once you click on week 3, you will find exercise 6. Click on exercise 6. Are you on exercise 6? Once you click on exercise 6, what do you see on exercise 6? Everybody go to exercise 6. It tells you the tissue. Squamous. No. Go to slide 9. Everybody please go to slide 9. Slide 9. On slide 9, we have the first type of tissue, simple squamous. So you can tell from there. It's only one layer. So now I don't need to tell you. You can tell by yourself. Simple squamous. That means is one layer. Squamous is like an egg sunny side up. The sunny side is not an actual yolk. It's the nucleus. The nucleus is facing up. And look at it there. It shows you a photo illustration. And it shows you the pink one, how it looks like under the microscope. Then it tells you, read. What does it tell you? It tells you the description. How does it look like? Single layer with an egg sunny side up. Then what does it tell you? The function. Read the function. That is what you need to write on the exam. So if you miss out on what, you don't even know what the tissue is, are you going to know the function? You're going to lose 3 points because you're going to need to know the actual tissue, what it is. Then I'm going to ask you what's on the PowerPoint. What is the function? Where do you find it in the body? And that kind of stuff. So you got to go over all the tissues. Exercise 6 to do well. Yeah. Do you have a location has more than one? You have to name all of them? No. Just at least one? A couple. Okay. One is okay. Yeah, for the function, like one function is okay. Yeah. Yeah. Like just one, I know all of them. Just add one. Tell me one, I'm happy. Okay? Any questions? Alrighty. We don't have time. Now it's time to go on the microscope. Oh, the last thing I forgot to say. The very last thing. When you go to the microscope, you should have known from biology lab that the microscope has 2 lenses. The microscope has 2 lenses. There is an ocular lens. Ocular lens. They call it ocular because you put your eye on it. That's the one you put your eye on it. And that's always magnifies 10 times. 10x. Are we clear? Then you look into the ocular lens, and then the ocular lens is going to be connected to 1, 2, and 3 objective. Objective. Those are called objective lenses. This one could be at 40x. This one is 10x. This one is 100x. So that means if you put the slide under the 10x, what is your total magnification? Your total magnification equals the ocular magnification equals the ocular magnification multiplied by the, who knows? Hmm? So we will have an ocular magnification that's 10x multiplied by the objective magnification. That one is different. One is 10x, one is 4x. So if we have 10x, what's the answer? What's the total magnification? 10 times 10 is 100. So the total magnification is you multiply ocular by objective. Any questions? So how cool. Just one lens makes you see something 10 times. If you look into it in addition to the objective, 10 times 10, so that means you're looking at something 100 times as big as what it actually is. 100 times. So no wasting time, no wasting time. Everybody please head to the microscopes and take your own photos. Don't rely on somebody else take a photo for you. Rely on yourself, but discuss like in the group and with each other. Any questions? Okay.